Good evening, everyone. My name is Noel Ramsey, and I am your child's band director at their current high school. In light of recent events, I thought it might be a great idea to share a message with you and just sort of talk to you about why band and why music is such an important part of your child's education. So, why should your child be in band? Why should you put up with the large fees, buying instruments, maintaining instruments, listening to squeaks, squawks, toots, whatever sound oboes make? And I'm so sorry if your student is a percussionist. I'm a percussionist. So, why should you put up with these hours of rehearsals, meetings, sectionals, performances, all of which take away from your personal time and your family's time? At first glance, it might seem that joining such a program requires more buy-in than it's worth. However, I'm here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. In the simplest terms, what this program can offer you student is opportunity. What is opportunity? It's the chance for your student to experience life and do things that they otherwise would not have a chance to experience. To meet new people and to build connections with people from all walks of life. It's also an opportunity for them to apply their scholastic education into everyday scenarios. The first thing that your students will experience when joining my band program, if you're a freshman, will be meeting their fellow people that are their age. These will become lifelong friends that they will foster over their time in high school. And your students will meet these people before the school year even begins. The trips that students take, the guests that are invited, and the private instructors that we will bring in to work with your students will be some of the best educators currently teaching within the state, country, and if we're lucky enough, perhaps even the world. If they choose to follow music into college, this will be much the same, with the addition of being able to meet potential coworkers and employers. They will meet people who are future inventors, engineers, politicians, doctors, teachers, scientists, artists, actors, and the list goes on because truly everybody can find a place in music. Not only does band provide the opportunity to make these connections, but it will give your students a method to foster those connections and grow those connections. Student leadership is a must in any successful band program, and I consider this to be a successful band program. Students must learn how to communicate in a professional manner and at a level that's higher and much faster than their colleagues that they go to school with. The nature of music itself is one of self-expression. All students' voices must contribute in order to make musical performances work. Students learn how to accept others' opinions, visions, and compromise on a unified decision. This is an everyday process. Learning to lead, work together, and communicate is something that your child will experience every single time they pick up their instruments in this class. And if you can believe it or not, that's only one small tiny part of what music will do for your student. I'd like to take a moment in order to talk about some of the other experiences to just sort of talk about the different ensembles we have and what sort of experiences they provide. So the first ensemble that your student will likely encounter at the beginning of the semester or the year is marching band. And there's no other activity quite like it. No other activity combines mind, body, and spirit quite like marching band does. In marching band, students are asked to hold their bodies and move their bodies in a very specific manner, in time and in sync with each other, to the point that they're even breathing in time with each other. How often do you get to experience that in your everyday life? Marching band builds posture, coordination, core strength, cardiovascular endurance. And while they're concerned with all of this, students are also asked to play music as they are moving and holding themselves across a field to very, very precise, predetermined locations that they must memorize. Beyond the mechanics of simply playing an instrument, of which there are numerous, they are asked to match style, tone, to play in tune with one another, to play in time with one another, and to create a body of sound that is representative of an entire group of individuals. This activity develops extreme coordination and dexterity. It takes patience, perseverance, dedication, loyalty, spirit, resilience, humility, and commitment. Now, last time I checked, these were all traits that we seek in our doctors, military, teachers, police officers, engineers, scientists, farmers. Again, the list goes on. These are also the traits that colleges and employers seek in the people that they want to bring into their programs. And that's just one ensemble. That's just one ensemble. Let's talk about our concert program. Students in these ensembles will have the chance to dive deeply into music, to reflect on what they're doing on a very deep and personal level. They will be asked to master their parts with impeccable detail and then to perform with immaculate expressivity. They will be a part of a creative process and asked to lend their voice to a collective that will be truly theirs. They will come into contact with living history in the music that they are studying. They will travel, listen to, learn, and perform music from other places and other cultures. Speaking of culture, let's talk about jazz band, America's music, the product of everything that makes us who we are. Jazz places a huge emphasis on collaboration, creativity, improvisation, and listening. Students are asked to invent something every single time they approach the music. They're asked to think on their feet and express their ideas and react to each other in real time in front of a live audience. They will experience playing in small groups, large groups, and playing soloistically. Now, if everything that I'm saying still hasn't sort of convinced you of the importance and benefits of placing your students in a band program, then let me leave you with this. There is no other class or activity which requires students to use the entirety of their scholastic curriculum. Let me give you a couple of examples. How come my instrument sounds different than someone else's? That's a great question. Let's talk about physics. Let's talk about what makes your instrument. Let's talk about the shape that your instrument is. Let's talk about the sound waves and the type of sound waves that are produced by your instrument. What's a sound wave? I don't understand how it works. Great. Let's talk about math. All sound waves is a combination of sinusoidal waves. You learned that in algebra. Well, okay, why did the composer write the music in this way? Why are there so many marches in band? How come we don't play more of what's written for orchestra? That's great. Let's talk about history. Where did band come from? Where did your instruments come from? Where did the orchestra come from? You mentioned jazz earlier. Why is jazz considered America's music? Great. Well, in order for me to explain that, let's talk about African American history, the slave trade, the socioeconomic state of New Orleans, Chicago, then New York, during the early 1900s through the Great Depression and post-war. Who is Schoenberg? Why is his music so wacky? Why did he come to America? And how come some of his compositional techniques are used in the wind ensemble? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Well, let's talk about this little thing called World War II and the plethora of people that were displaced from Germany and Europe during this time. A lot of them came to America and actually took up residences in universities and have profoundly influenced what we do and the music that we perform today. There is an infinite list of questions for the curious mind, and your student only has to look at the opportunities placed in front of them to apply what they're learning in their everyday class to what they're doing and performing in music. So, before I keep rambling, to just wrap this up, what might seem on the surface as an arduous task that has little payout actually means the world to your child. And if you don't think that band is the right fit for your student, then I implore you to please put them in choir, orchestra, theater, dance, guitar. Give them that gift of music and the opportunities that come along with it. Thank you for your time. I hope everybody is safe out there, and we'll see you at our next concert. Thank you so much. Have a good night.